The Two and Out CFL podcast with Travis Currah and Sheldon Jones starts now.
Well, here we are on a Monday night. No games to talk about, just rules and just the Canadian Football League. Monday, September 22nd, 2025 was a big time day in the league's history, and I think this is the place where we're going to get the fans' voice on the issues here. And I have to put this away because I'm still emotional and I'm still nervous, and it took me about an hour to edit all of the clicks off of the pod yesterday. So I'm going to put that down.
Do I have to put this down? Because that's what I'm doing.
I actually can't hear it for some reason. I can't hear it. There's some crazy noise cancellation going on.
Good mic.
But here we are. And I just want to go to some emails before we get to the changes, because even us thinking about the changes had us quite emotional, Sheldon. And overall, now that we've let it sink in for almost 12 hours, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling like I think I expected a lot worse. And so, you know, when I first was watching Stewart talk, and when the first thing that came out of his mouth was about, you know, the goalpost and balls hitting the goalpost, I was like, immediately I was like, oh, I do not want them to move the goalposts. But then I actually thought that the way that they explained the why, it sold me by the time he was even done talking about the goalposts. So again, I expected a lot more doom and gloom from all the people who I think were just rage baiting on Twitter, like, you know, Rod Peterson and Ballsy and other people. I expected a full Americanization, and it didn't happen, so I'm okay with that. You know, there's certain things that do seem like a little bit of Americanization, but I don't know if it's Americanization or just offense producing. Like, I think that's obviously the directive, and it's not like this is new. This isn't the first time that the CFL has said that they're trying to make the game more higher scoring, more touchdowns, more offense. So I feel for defensive players. I feel for fans of defensive, you know, football, because that is certainly a thing that I love too. You know, playoff battles when there's good defenses, and you have to wait to see who's going to make the first mistake to actually, you know, break the well or whatever. I love those type of games, but scoring points is kind of what's going to bring the eyes to the league, I think. So hopefully that works.
Now, I was very nervous going into it. I didn't get much sleep last night. I too thought it would be more drastic. I do think it is a path to Americanization, though. So that does what has me nervous, just being honest there. I'm glad that I'm not a 27-year-old star quarterback that had a mic shoved in my face after hearing about these changes to the league. I got to stew on it and hopefully discuss it logically tonight, because Nathan Rourke had some passionate words to say, and we'll get into that later. But I think we both appreciate the passion. No matter what side of the fence you lie on, the passion is what's needed to keep the CFL going. And we had a message from Amanda, who is a Patreon supporter of the show, and she said yesterday's episode brought a lot of sadness, but also companionship, as she's been feeling the same way since hearing that there would be significant changes. I know what the changes are now, and I'm still so incredibly sad. But I'm looking forward to hearing both mine and your take on it, Sheldon. You both have an incredible amount of CFL knowledge, and perhaps you'll be able to see a bright side that I can't find right now. And I do want to get to an email here from Ian as well. He says, to start, thank you. You are unaware, but your podcast has helped me through severe anxiety and depression attacks and many daily runs the past few years. I look forward to it, especially if I haven't seen all the games that weekend. You guys catch me up. I'm sure there are times you wonder why you do the show. You got that right, brother. I hope you know now, at least with me, how much you have helped me through this life thing. And then he goes, the CFL was my only sport available in the summers of my youth, vacationing/living in East Bay, Nova Scotia. With 3 TV channels in cottage country Nova Scotia in the 80s, all I had all summer to pass the time was my wrestling magazines, the CFL on CBC, and the Expos, and a lot of Hawaii Five-0 reruns. They were long summers for a kid, but it did start an attachment and a respect for the CFL product. We lived the school year in Windsor, so I'm an NFL-raised guy. But my appreciation for the CFL is genuine. I honestly prefer the Canadian rules, especially that Rouge thing, warts and all. And I still would love to see the current NFL players play Canadian rules. To me, that would be the ultimate sports product. You both mentioned your affinity for current wrestling, and that is where I would like to make this point. I'm sure you know in the mid-'80s, the WWF pretty much instilled their will and their way and severely crippled and outright shut down pretty much all other wrestling companies around North America eventually. From bigger territories to smaller ones, each one had their own take on pro wrestling, and more important to that, wrestlers and wrestling they could relate to, and was their own every week on TV and at the arenas. Then about 10 years ago, my son discovered pro wrestling. We loved watching PWG, New Japan, Evolve, Progress Wrestling from the UK, and anything around us we could find. Again, for no reason other than they could. History repeated itself, and the WWE imposed their will and wiped out or severely weakened all of the companies we loved to watch together. They didn't need to, they just did. And worse, I had to explain to my child in some way what was happening and why. As I watched the show this morning and I heard the pain from you guys today, for some reason these things are what I thought of. Fearing it's happening again. The same emotions and feelings I had back then. In both instances, the WWF was/is the current NFL. And a part of me was gone, and I didn't know why. As I raised my son, one constant I always told him was enjoy the now, appreciate the now, because there's no guarantee it will be here tomorrow. I hope we are all overreacting and we laugh about our fears in a few hours, but something tells me from you guys today that will not be the case. I hope we are all wrong. Thank you, and thanks for reading this long-ass email, if you did. I'm sorry it was longer than your beard, but I felt I just needed to write. And you know what? I feel like sometimes I should write my thoughts down before going live on YouTube and perhaps sounding like a bumbling idiot. But it's clear that this game is more than just a game. And from the fans and the emotions felt today, I think it's okay to feel sad and to feel mad. And I don't think we should be minimizing everyone else's feelings because of how mad they are. It's clearly very important, and it tugs at the heartstrings, as silly as it sounds. But I think if you're listening to a CFL podcast, you may feel the same way.
Yeah, thank you for those words from the emails. And, I, as someone who listens to podcasts a lot, and it helps me with certain things like anxiety. So to hear that, I have some small part in doing that for somebody else is pretty crazy. So thank you. Yeah, speaking of negative, like that's the one thing that's kind of really been kind of eating away at me all day. Is just seeing how much people are just, instead of saying their point about how they feel and kind of moving on, it's just a bunch of bitching back and forth and calling people out and people saying that they're done, and that's fine. Please, if you're done, then be done. Like I understand. I'm never gonna say that somebody is wrong for having their own opinion on something. Do I maybe hope that those opinions could be changed or turn out to be not the case? Absolutely. But this league is something that everyone who is a fan of it loves it for a certain reason. And, I'll get it out of the way quick so we can move on. Like, I'm ecstatic about the change of the Rouge. Anyone who's listened to this podcast has said that this is exactly the way that I wanted it to be changed. I know it wasn't me who made this happen, but I'll take the credit for it. It's something that I think will help, but there's certain people who love the Rouge, and this hurts, and there's some people who that's the one thing, that's the sticking point of why they don't want to be a fan anymore. And so for that, I just say I'm sorry. I'm sorry you feel that way, and I hope that you can understand, or I hope that you can give it a chance and see that it's, I
I guess
yeah.
I feel like the league is going out of their way to try to let traditionalists down gently, and I kind of see right through it. I don't think teams are eagerly kicking field goals because they may get a rouge. I do not buy
No,
that
no.
point, and that was thrown out there today. So let's just
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
see. There are fans in the chat wondering how we could expect it to be worse. I think in short that would be 4 downs. That would be 53 yards wide. That would be everything completely changing. And so
Yeah.
when you say, I don't know if you feel the same way as me, and we'll get to the changes, including the Rouge, right after this. I felt like it was a bit of a compromise. It was
Mhm.
not all the way there, and the spirit remains for now. And I don't like saying for now, but I do feel that way. There's still 12 guys. There's still no fair catch. There is still the 1 yard neutral zone. There is still the waggle, and there's still 3 downs.
Mhm.
And I think we were all worried that that might all go away, and it may
Yeah.
eventually, but for now it remains.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who are saying that they're upset that Stewart Johnson would not guarantee that 4 downs would never happen, and I understand that because I do not want 4 downs. Like I do not. I don't think it would make any change for the better. We don't see NFL games scoring that much more points than the CFL. We just had a 10-13 game when the Packers and the Browns played, and so when those are not I'm not saying those things happen, and I just but we're in a tough world right now when it comes to absolutes. You never know what's going to happen. Things change, things, and I hope it never does go to 4 downs. But that's why I think that Stewart wasn't able to be committed on something like that. But he did answer that, they want to keep the Canadian aspect of the game there. And he even went into a little bit more in depth on the Justin Dunk had an interview with him on 3 Down Nation. So I encourage everyone to go listen to that after we're done here. He went into it a little bit more about why he didn't want to give a specific answer there, and I just I understand the quote unquote outrage about that, but I also understand how he dealt with it. And I just want to say before we go on to actually what all of the changes are, I thought he did a really good job at the press conference. I thought he did a really good job outlining everything and giving the whys for why they're changing it. They had really good stuff that's already up on the CFL.ca website. It's game changes, frequently asked questions, and it goes and it explains why they're doing all this and what they hope to accomplish with all this. Some of the stuff may be a little laughable. I don't know how you can say 60 more touchdowns. Like,
60.
but
That
over
I
the
rolled my eyes at that.
but 60 over, what is it, 82 games? Is that how many there is?
Maybe
I can't
five
remember.
years.
But like,
I buy maybe the 10% completed passes. I maybe buy that
yeah.
part.
Like, and I know that Rourke said that they scheme for the upright to be used as like an extra defender or an extra, like, that they can do picks off and stuff like that. And I get that, but at the same time, these offensive coordinators, whether they say that they're not, staying away from the upright, they will not have to worry about that. So maybe they can scheme a little bit better. And Adam Bighill was interviewed, and we'll talk about that after. I don't want to bring that up right now, but he said that the main thing that's going to happen to make the game more exciting and and higher scoring is coaching, and coaching the players and scheming. And there's something that wasn't talked about today that I hope is talked about in the future, and that's the coach's cap. But I'll get off my high horse about that for right now.
Well, Stewart Johnston did say more announcements are to come. in the coming months. And this Grey Cup week maybe has the chance to be a massive Grey Cup week. And I've already seen fans saying that this is the last real CFL season. However, some are also saying next season will be the only CFL season played with the proper field and a proper rouge rule. So let's just try to go through the rule changes and then discuss each one and then go to fan reaction, although the reaction in the live chat is very, very awesome. I've seen players questioning Sean White. I don't know if he was kind of tongue-in-cheek saying, I don't know if I know when I'm not needed anymore. Nathan Rourke said it was garbage. Trina saying Darian Durant not happy about the changes. But let's go to the changes right now. It's a modified rouge. So it no longer includes a single point for a missed field goal attempt that goes wide of the goalposts. A point will also not be awarded when a punt or a kickoff sails through or rolls out of the back or sides of an end zone without being touched by a returner. So the only way to get a rouge now is if a field goal is short or if a punt is settling in the end zone and conceded by a returner. That's where we are there. The opposite field team benches, that has to be universally liked, except maybe by team presidents, because it might take some advertising opportunities away.
Well, but they have more options for that in the end zones now.
Right. So there's that. The 35-second play clock. So right now it's 20 seconds. However, it has to be whistled in by the officials. So just as an experiment this weekend, if you're on your PVR, go ahead 30 seconds. You'll see that it's not a true 20-second play clock, and it most likely is 35 seconds most of the time. When it came to inside the 3 minutes, I was very concerned about that. It does appear that officials still need to blow in the game clock. Even though that the play clock will go 35 seconds automatically, the official will still need to blow that in. So there probably will be some changes coming, including maybe a team being able to take 2 timeouts inside the 3 minutes. But I don't think that is as a drastic of a change that maybe it appears on the surface. I maybe would have rather seen a 30-second. However, the officials might be in a tough spot if it was 30 seconds. But that one maybe not as crazy as it seems on the surface, Sheldon.
Yeah, and I think that's another one where a lot of people, I think at the beginning, we're worried about the end of the game, and giving and making it seem like there's an extra 15 seconds for every play that can be ran off now. And I think that, in these upcoming announcements too, which a little bit off the side here, but Stewart Johnston also said that Grey Cup 2027 announcement is coming in weeks, and Grey Cup halftime announcement is coming in days or weeks. So those are coming up right away too. But I think that 35-second play clock, I hope that an announcement does have something to do with a way to keep the integrity and the iconic 3 minutes of the last 3 minutes of the game where no lead is safe. So hopefully, that there's some sort of hybrid rule, or maybe that, it is a 35-second, I don't know, but something to just make it so that teams aren't able just to, at 1 minute and 45 seconds left, just kneel on the ball 3 times and the game's over.
So that's what's coming into play next season. In 2027, goalposts will move to the back of the end zones, and the end zones will then become 15 yards instead of 20. Now keep in mind that the corners are cut in at McGill in Montreal, and it's only an 18-yard end zone in Toronto. So at least every end zone will now be the same size across the CFL. The league projects gains of 10% more end zone completions and 60 more touchdowns per season. I don't know that. Put a number in a hat and pull it out, I guess. Sorry. I'm trying to just
Hey,
deliver the facts here.
they made a movie about analytics called Moneyball, and I know that's
Okay.
baseball, but come on, they got analytics, man.
Maybe they got Jonah Hill, not like the guy that Jonah Hill played. So then also the field will then change to 100 yards instead of 110. So I stood at center field at Princess Auto Stadium, then IG Field, and it had a C at center field. Others have the 55, and it's highlighted. And that is the one that had me sad. And then, but the more I think about it, and now I'm able to speak about it semi rationally, the width of the field stays. And we know that the width is the big thing for returners and, receivers to have that space and get around the corner, even though it's said that the playing surface is reduced by 13%. I don't know vertically how much that will change, and that's why I'm kind of wait and see when it comes to seeing this happen. But to help me understand it, I actually had a chat with a good friend today, and he's a lot more supportive of this stuff. So seeing his point of view made me feel a little bit better. I don't think you can move the goalposts without shrinking the field. I don't think they can be independent of each other.
Yeah.
So I was just doing, some quick math. Right now, if you want to kick a 50-yard field goal, the offense has to get to the 43, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to keep it consistent. With that new field, if you want to kick a 50-yarder, you have to get to the 28. So there's the snapping the ball back 7 yards and the 15-yard end zone.
Yeah.
And then if you take over where the field goal was missed, or the team decided to gamble or whatever, currently the teams would only need to gain about 2 first downs or one 25-yard play to get into field goal range. With the new field, teams would have to gain another 45 yards to be able to kick a 50-yarder. So their argument is that, say it's 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4, with the opposing offense possibly having to work that much harder to get into field goal range, teams might go for it more. Reducing field goals, maybe, reducing punting, which it remains to be seen how this is going to go. In theory, if we're going to be seeing more 3rd down gambles and things like that, this could end up being all right.
Yeah.
And once I sat down and I thought about it, and I think it might be okay. And we'll get to the ripple effects afterwards, but is what I'm saying kind of making sense anyway?
Sorry, I was reading a comment where Matt Damon is making a dig at me. Give me that one again. Sorry.
I just said, am what I'm saying making sense?
Oh yeah.
I hope
No,
it
it
is.
is. It is because and that's the basis of this, right? Like they said they wanted to make it more exciting. They want they want more 3rd down gambles. So I honestly think you don't have the for a long field goal right now, I guess you would have a risk of it being short, and then a return is still possible. However, you also don't have the the benefit of maybe going for a 40-yard field goal so you would be at like the closer to the 15-ish when you're doing a 40-yard field goal. You don't have that benefit of, oh, if we shank it or if we miss it right, we're going to get a point out of it. And if it's a 2 point or a 1 point game, you might be more inclined to go for that gamble and to try to get the first down to try to get it to get a touchdown instead. So I do think that something, I, yeah, I do think that there's definitely a benefit to this. But again, initially when I heard about it, and it's wild to me. Everyone can have their opinion on this guy. I don't care anymore. But like I'm sitting at my computer waiting for this announcement, and I'm DMing with Luke Wilson, a Super Bowl champion, a person on Friday Night Football, and he kind of said I said I was expecting worst case scenario, and he said you're going to be okay. And he said the only thing I think is the 55-yard line's going. And I said I really don't like that. That's kind of close to worst case scenario for me. And he's like, but why? And then I just thought about it, and I was like, well, I guess why? Because it's iconic, it's Canadian, it's different, but at the same time, when I think about it now from 30,000 feet with the goalpost moving and blah, blah, all that stuff, like it does make sense to me anyway. So,
I think it
um,
makes sense. Like I don't think we can have 110 yards and move the goalposts with the 20
yeah,
yard.
that's
So
yeah, I
those
yeah,
both things kind of they go hand in hand. And
it's symmetry. Yeah,
Ryan Ballantyne is saying we could also see a lot more punts from the 35. I think I think so too. Hey, I was at a West final where Jason Moss decided to kick.
yeah.
That was,
Yeah,
and I could see it happening. I think their goal is they want, but you can't force coaches to go for it. You can't. And
no, but you could make some different changes where instead of it being you could shorten that gap at the end where if it goes out in between the goal line and the 10
right,
maybe it's okay, but if it goes
right.
out in like at the 10 then you bring the ball out to like the 35 or 40. So
And see,
I
this is why I think if the on a punt, if the ball touches the ground, I think the Rouge, I would prefer it to still be in play on a punt. I feel like coaches are just going to tell returners not to touch it. And I do think this may, because why would they? Oh, because if it touches the ground and goes out of bounds, there's no point, inside the end zone or anything like that. And we don't know where lines of scrimmage are going to go. Like teams aren't going to be able to start at the 40 anymore. At least I'm assuming. So
no,
that
no.
change is going to come as well. So I do wonder about the ripple effects. And I do feel for coaches that have been coaching the Canadian football game for years and years and years. And now the CFL is not playing any version of it. They're playing sort of a hybrid version. So where does this leave minor football squads and university squads? And Calgary plays at a university stadium. Montreal does. Winnipeg shares with the Bisons, right? Do the Rams play at Mosaic? Like,
For sure, they like when U of S is here, they'll play them. But I think typically
okay,
most of the games
most.
are at Liable. But well, I can't say for sure if it's most, but I know some games are Liable, some games are Mosaic.
So the ripple effects here are massive. Um,
Yeah,
will the other levels of football change as well? This is a big day in Canadian football history, man.
I agree, and I think eventually it may not be as quick as a year and a half from now, but I think eventually you will have to see minor football in high school and university because it's one thing to have like American players come up here and have to deal with a different field, and that was just something that there's two different leagues, so but now like when you have Canadian kids who are growing up starting at the minor, if kids are starting in Regina minor football and then they graduate to high school and then they go to university and they're playing on the old configuration that used to be, and then they try to get drafted and then they have a training camp and then they have to adapt to a different set of rules, like what if it's a kicker, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that they do need to come down to this, and I think that is why all of these options or all of these changes aren't taking effect at the beginning of 2026, because if they really wanted to, they could, but they're obviously giving some time to be collaborative with with the amateur football, and I think that is a good thing. However, is this enough time for them to get on board? I guess we'll have to see.
So, I mean, Josh, I know that you believe we are sellouts and we should boycott and we should stand against the CFL here. Last night, I was feeling that way, man. Like, I don't think it's cool that people are, telling people that you're not a real fan of the CFL if you don't want to watch anymore, if you don't want to have your season tickets. A lot of people do feel like their heart was ripped out. That's cool. I I you're okay to feel that way. And a lot of
You
people
could,
feel like their favorite thing in life has been changed. Number two to family can be the CFL for many fans, and it's all changed.
yeah, and you call me a sellout, whatever you want, but like I love the CFL. I have loved the CFL ever since my parents started taking me to the games when I was like 3 or 4 months old. So is it wrong for me to see something that I love and try to think positively about some changes that hopefully will grow? Like I just if you're in here just to comment like that, like cool. But yeah, I'm not going to say you're a bad fan because you're telling us to boycott. I'm not going to say that you're wrong in your opinions. You're allowed to have your opinions. My opinion is that I'm hopeful that these changes will work. I'm hopeful that people don't boycott. I'm hopeful that people do still go to the games because I think one of the things that I'm most worried about, if I'm being completely honest with everyone here, is if these changes don't increase viewership, if these changes don't increase attendance, if these changes don't increase merchandise sales, et cetera, then they're going to feel like they need to make more drastic changes, and then they're going to make more changes that I'm not going to like. So you do you, I'm going to do me, and I'm trying to be positive here. We had a really nice DM from our buddy Dallas this morning saying that our last show here last night kind of sounded like a funeral, and it kind of did, to be honest. And we were getting emotional. We have other things in our life right now that are kind of adding to that, but when you expect for the worst and then in your own opinion it's not as bad as you think it's going to be, I don't think there's a problem with trying to find the positive in it.
And
Okay.
I
Yeah.
guess, if they changed the width of the field and they went to four downs, I really believe I'd be out. I did feel like
Probably would too.
it
Yeah.
was a bit of a compromise, and I do like I feel for those season ticket holders. There are some that are on the 10-yard line that are now in the end zone, and some that
Yeah.
maybe sit in row one in the end zone, and now the field is even further away because of premium seating. For the worst view in the stadium, we'll give you a crappy buffet and charge you $400. I see. You can
But
see how I
here's the
feel about
thing.
that. Like, give me
Here's
a break.
here's the thing about that though. Those are the type of people that the league does need to make money. There are certain people, and I see it at Rider games. I was lucky to milk this Havana upgrade that I have been doing for the past 3 seasons and getting upgraded tickets with our Rider Rewards, and it seems like that's done at the end of this year. But there are certain people who, they have disposable income. Companies have disposable income. They're whining and dining potential clients, and they choose to do that at a Rider game. And if they're gonna sell little patty like in Commonwealth, they put like couches down there and called it like premium lodge seating or whatever. And if people are gonna buy those tickets, if the demand is there, then it's cool. I don't think that necessarily is why they should shorten the end zones and all that stuff. But if that's a catalyst of it, and if that's a potential way for them to make money, that's what this is all about. This is about 7 of 9 teams in this league having owners that are not profitable. They are putting money into this, and how long can we expect people, millionaires? I know some of them are billionaires, but how long can we expect to see them just dump money into something without getting any sort of return other than I think we have like four off the top of my head, Amar Doman, Thompson in Edmonton, uh, in Hamilton, caretaker Bob,
Well, and they're
and
even
in
like a
Mont
corporation now, and then PKP
yeah,
in
fair.
Montreal.
And
Yeah.
PK in Montreal. Like those four are hardcore CFL fans who do it for the love of the game. And so that's why also I don't see those four agreeing to go to anything drastic like four downs or short shrinking the width of the field. Like I think those guys want hardcore CFL values and everything, but they want to make money. And they're just trying to figure out a way to make more money here.
Matt saying breaking news: there will not be a 3 and Out podcast should the amount of downs change. You're right. Josh saying it will go 4 downs. If you don't think so, you're blind. I am deathly afraid it's heading that way, and if it does, I guess I'll put it on the record now. This is like episode 536. I don't need to do it anymore. Although, just got the first paycheck from YouTube, Sheldon. And I owe you like 80% of it. So watch that for you in your automatic e-transfer.
80%. Ooh, I'll take it.
I do want to get to some comments we saw on Facebook here. And I'll start with Austin, who is a staunch supporter of the podcast, and this is what's fascinating to me. The American fans, originally American fans, that ask that the CFL doesn't change. Austin saying his first CFL game ever was October 11th, 2013, where the Stampeders faced off against the BC Lions in one of the coldest games he'd ever experienced. Canadian Thanksgiving, coldest game, Austin? Come on, I think you've been to colder games since then. But he had recently graduated high school in Virginia at that time. About 2 to 3 years prior, he discovered the great game known as Canadian football. Fast forward to 2017, he moved to Calgary, in large part because of his passion for the Bo Levi Mitchell-led Stampeders. Soon after, became a season ticket holder in 2018, and now he's number one in CFL Pick'em. And you want to get cold, brother, you might win a trip to the Grey Cup in Winnipeg. What's most perplexing to him now is that we are currently experiencing some of the most exciting game finishes in a decade. So we're radically changing the rules now to make the game more exciting. Doesn't make sense and sounds very risky to mess this up. He says this day is sad because these changes might result in an Americanizing of our great Canadian game, and no one wants to watch a junior NFL product. I'm not ready to lose you.
Yep, I can understand that. I would also like to highlight another comment here and from Ryan Ballantine. Uh, he said that the field change is about expansion, nothing else IMO, and that is a very good point because when you do shrink down the field, you make it so that it's closer to a regulation soccer length, right? And so let's say, for example, in Halifax, if they're getting a CPL team, and they can get a stadium, if they can find an ownership who wants to have a CFL team as well, you can make that multi-use stadium a little bit better, and I think that's what he's kind of meaning. And so I do think that is something that, could be a positive down the line there.
Hamilton Sports Central. So as the first place winner for next year for your fantasy league, we go as a group to BMO for Sask fans to take up the away bench side. Oh, there's going to be some serious heat stroke in Toronto now. The visitors are going to have to go cook that side of the field. I guess that's home field advantage, I would think. And then Dinwiddie's not threatening opposing coaches. He also says, Travis, with the smaller field, do you think we'll see less games under 3 minutes than we do now? I don't know. I think that's probably going to be less of a change than it looks like right now. And I don't want to crap on the current coaches. How many times have we seen them get a 1 yard run and instead of trying to kill 25 more seconds off the clock, they throw an incomplete pass. So there's still going to be bad coaching decisions and still going to be bad clock management that could, result in some comebacks.
Mm-hmm. And thanks, Don, for pointing out. So Halifax does already have a CPL team. So if they, are to get a bigger stadium, then they could potentially have a CFL
But
stadium.
and that is the optimist in me says that a smaller CFL field fits into more facilities, and it doesn't need a specialized facility. It could host a soccer team and a CFL team at the same time. And does that mean that we're going to see the Schooners back in the conversation? I'm not so sure, but maybe it does get us there. And that's the thing. I do feel like these changes need to be in effect for like 10 years before we make any more changes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if they last 2 years, touchdowns are only up 4%. Let's change it even more.
Yeah.
I don't like the thoughts of that.
Well, and I do think that, there's certain things that make me feel like they won't be so rash in that. It seems like this is pretty calculated. I know a lot of people are kind of thinking that, Stewart Johnston just comes in and he's just like, swinging his hammer around right away. But obviously he was given a directive by the Board of Governors that they needed something to change and they needed to make the game more marketable and more money. So I think that, they're going to have to give some time to see if this bears fruit. And Halifax, the ship may have sailed there, but there are other, Quebec, they have a very passionate fan base when it comes to youth sports there. Can that go to a professional team other than the Alouettes? I don't know, but you also have places like Windsor. You have places like potentially Victoria. Like there's enough people around there that if you're able to get some expansion out of this, that's nothing but good news for the CFL. Like we want to get to 10 teams. Ideally, if you could get to 12, that would be amazing. But 10 is, I think, kind of the golden number right now. And again, I'm being a sellout optimist here, so sue me.
I don't have any money to start a lawsuit against you, but here's what I'll say. Anybody who liked the league as it was 2 weeks ago was accused of being a shill, and I'm seeing a lot of shills peddle this out like it's 100% correct right now. So what's really going on here? I'm really, surprised at how well they kept it under wraps. Adam Bighill,
NBAs, man. Those NBAs.
Interestingly enough, Adam Bighill said he kind of knew about it, Sheldon, and Nathan Rourke. You remember, 2 years ago, forget that anything happened with a number 12 in Toronto. We thought that the poster boys were going to be one number 12 on the West Coast and one number 12 in Toronto. Well, one of them, a Canadian in his prime, actually, could he get better? He just might. Called it garbage. And he's going to get fined. Nathan Rourke will. He totally will. I appreciate the passion. I do see people calling him out for going to the NFL. He went to go make his money. Okay. I mean, who's going to... I buy the Lotto Max instead of the local 50-50 sometimes, so I can hopefully win the 55 mil instead of the $800 that might get me to next month. He did bring up some things that are still in the game, but Rourke did very mad about just getting blindsided by it. It seems like he just kind of figured out and then he was asked about it. So he was emotional, he was passionate, and I appreciate that.
I do too. I appreciate his passion, but Um, Adam Bighill, so he's on the rules committee, and he said, "Where's my phone?" Because I wrote this down because I want to quote it properly. He said that, sorry, he said that oh, this is bad, bad radio, man. Okay, so he
I
said
love this
that,
comment. Travis and
yeah,
Sheldon got that Stu Johnston
yeah.
check.
I really like a Stu Johnson check, to be honest. So he said he was part of the committee that and he had some time to think about it. So it seems like he was definitely part of a committee that didn't just get a heads up an hour before like the CFLPA
Well,
did.
he was
However,
able to form his political answer into the media,
he
right?
was, but he said being part of the executive board, me and the board were briefed, or the board and I were briefed on these changes. So we had some time to bring things back to Stewart and their board and have some dialogue. And Nathan Rourke said that no players and no coaches were consulted. Well, Nathan's gonna have a chat with Buck Pierce because Buck Pierce is on that committee. So Buck Pierce was part of it.
Buck says he was blindsided in his interview too.
Well, but I'm just going by what the player, but the rules committee is in the rule book, and it says that it's all the CFL coaches. It's Adam Bighill, it's
Well,
Mackey,
so the
it's
rule
a
committee
couple.
does include those guys.
Yeah,
You're right. Mike O'Shea says he didn't know about it. He's on the committee and
well,
he said he
yeah.
doesn't like a single thing.
Well,
So
so I guess somebody's, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it
no,
just
but it
at
is
least it
what Big Hill
seems,
said. I mean,
yeah, at least it seems like there was, at first it seemed like it was just players or people in the league head offices and stuff like that that were um consulted, but there definitely was some more consultation with at least a player. And like I guess more will come out, but these guys all signed NDAs, so I don't know when that NDA expired because Craig Dickinson, sorry, Craig Reynolds had an interview on Riderville and he said we signed NDAs.
wow.
And remember when I texted you last night and you're like, "Oh, I don't believe that." So they
Hey,
did sign
Sheldon, can you
NDAs and
move your
that's
head to your left? Left. Right. Further. I want to see what. Oh, is there a center? Is there a 55 on your yard, on your wall?
way over there it is.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
gotta
It's
keep
not
my
on
wall up.
camera.
Yeah, no.
Because Flesh
This is
Wound
technically the
42.
end zone.
Okay,
Yeah.
Flesh Wound 42 asks if you'll be revamping your wall paneling.
I mean, I guess I have to, but like to be fair, I don't have all of the lines anymore. I used to have all the lines. I put them with electrical tape, but
Okay.
over time they just shrunk and fell off.
Okay.
But yeah.
Henoch Mwamba saying the Rouge by far the best adjustment, and we can only hope the rest of the changes will also make the league more appealing to fans. That's my concern, and that's why I said I hope it's a long-term thing, because after 2 seasons, if ticket sales are up 0.7%, is that moving the needle enough?
Yeah.
I don't know. More reaction online. Stavros Katsantonis, safety for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, saying, really excited for the new changes in the years to come. The most sacred things about this game and what makes it unique are the ratio, 12 players, the waggle, the halo, and the width of the field. How teams strategize for the Rouge play in the future will also be intriguing.
See, to me, that's very intriguing that a defensive player, along with Adam Bighill as a defensive player, are seeming to think that there's good parts here. And Nathan Rourke, the offensive player who would seem to benefit the most from this, is very critical.
Well,
That
Stavros says red zone plays will be filled with more passing plays, more opportunities for big plays, no more getting picked by the post, no more hiding behind the goalpost for some of those pesky safeties out there as well.
Yeah, so I guess that does kind of because Nathan did bring that up. He said that they use that to pick players off of. So interesting to me that a defensive player would be kind of happy with this, to be honest.
And the halo, Leanne, is the 5 yards around the returner. So you have to give him that space to not take that no yards penalty. Other reaction, I think maybe we're going to start to get to the fan reaction a little bit here. Wally, though, saying he is a big fan of the Ticats, saying it could have been worse, still a little sad. Feels like I'm watching a movie, and before it was over, I found out that it had a disappointing ending. At this moment, that's where I am when I think about the remainder of this CFL season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, if I go to the Facebook comments on our page, this is all stuff directly to us. Gary saying, think of all the stadiums that can accommodate the new configuration. Anywhere there's an MLS team, there can be a CFL team. This opens the door to all sorts of potential new sites for teams with seating capacity that suits the CFL perfectly. Denny, complete garbage. Where can we start a petition to stop this nonsense? You can't just come in and arbitrarily change what the CFL is. And that's an interesting thing, man. People all of a sudden missing old Randy Ambrosie. The memes I've been seeing have been pretty humorous.
The Wolverine one popped me like huge.
Stacy saying not consulting coaches and players is terrible management. Gotta expect torches and pitchforks now. Man,
I guess
this season's been exhausting.
It has, yeah. Like, when it comes to major companies, like, I get there would probably be focus groups and stuff, and it seemed like there was a little bit of that here, but like at the end of the day, the players and the coaches are like the employees of a big business here, and oftentimes big businesses they make changes and the employees have to deal with it, and it at the end of the day, it's to make the business better, and that may not be the best for all the employees and the customers, which are us, I guess. But again, it's up to us as individual customers to decide if these rules are going to break the horse's back or the camel's back, or if these rules are something that we can objectively take a look at and say, hey, maybe this can work, I'm willing to give it a try, or you're not. And neither way is wrong. Neither opinion's wrong. I love this game. I keep saying that. I love this game. I'm a fan of the NFL too, but I love this game. I hope I can continue to love this game and not just be a fan.
Got an email from Darren Baker. We bring him up on the show semi-regularly because he's an irrational Calgary Stampeders fan, and there's a few of those in the chat. Darren wants to give his 2 cents on the changes today announced in the CFL. Feels like a lot of people are way overreacting to the changes that are minor in scope and may very easily improve the product on the field. It seems to me that the main focus was to get the goalposts off the goal line, and this is probably a good idea. I don't see these changes as Americanizing the league, and people who are willing to boycott the league or give up their season tickets because of these changes were just looking to do so in the first place, so we as fans of the league don't need them. Also, have you ever thought of doing a call-in show to the podcast? No. Hey, their live chat. I think that's the good step for now. Thanks for the pod. Love the show and love what you guys do for this league. Thanks for the email, Darren. But that's an interesting.
I'd love to do a call-in show if
you would.
I think that would be hilarious.
I'd have to I don't know. I wouldn't want to give up my own phone number. I'd have to get a 1-888 or something like that.
1-888 2 and out.
And here's the thing, like we said it, most of the teams losing money, and Stewart Johnston came in. Clearly, the Board of Governors wanted a yes man. Randy was no longer that guy, and fans thought he was that guy. But it's clear today, at least I think, that he wasn't. And Stewart Johnston came in with a mandate by the 9 other rich guys saying that you need to make changes. And here we are with a few weeks left in the season. I do worry that it will overshadow the rest of the season. Because, man, Darius Pickett, some of the guys are pretty neutral, in what they're saying. And that's probably a good place to live as a player at this moment. Nathan Work was not neutral, and probably most guys want to keep some money in their pocket.
Nathan Rourke's got some of the most money out of all of them.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he can take that hit.
Credit for having guts to try. And I hope that's what it is. I hope it's nothing more nefarious in future years.
Yeah, like I again, like you, I went to bed and I'm just like I had a pit in my stomach the whole morning. Like I was just waiting for this announcement. I was waiting for whatever was to come, and I just sitting there, I just kind of was like, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and I'm just hopeful that it works, I guess. That's all. There's definitely some more things that we need to fix though. Coaches,
Yeah,
that's certainly
yeah.
one that hopefully is coming up. Restricted free agency, I hope because a lot of CFL diehards and CFL elitists are huge about the ratio. They're huge about the Canadians, but at the same time, like we're not taking those Canadians and making them into household names,
Yeah.
because we draft them and then they can sign for 1 year and they can go to another team if they want to right away, and then they're just going to keep going to whoever pays them the most amount of money. I hope that they can figure out a way to get the CFLPA on board for it, and because I think that in the end it will be more money for the players. But you have it where you have to, like when Luke Wilson and Dwayne Ford sat down, and when Luke isn't just firing back at people in the way that Luke Wilson does, I think he has a lot of good ideas, and Dwayne Ford certainly has a lot of good ideas. And I recommend anyone who hasn't watched those 3 videos that they put out, watch them, because there's a lot of stuff in there that I think would absolutely go to help, uh, you know, not so much make more money for the CFL, but make the game and make the players a bigger part of the CFL.
I do like this comment from D. Orchard. This has been an awesome season, and the best is yet to come. Remember to enjoy the moment, regardless of how you feel. Ryan asking, any chance they announce this now because there's little to no playoff race drama? Well, I mean, Johnston alluding to more announcements to come. If just look at the chatter out there, like the king of the sports algorithm at the moment, and if all of this is being talked about and then they start putting more hopefully positive announcements on top of it, it could make some pretty good momentum here.
Yeah, but I think there is a drama when it comes to playoffs, because 3 or 4 weeks ago we thought a crossover was a lock, and now it doesn't seem like it is a lock, and but it still can be, and injuries are contributing to that. So I do think that we still will have a good amount of drama coming down to the end here, but I think you want to get this announcement out, just to try. I think the biggest part about getting this announcement out is to give U Sports and amateur football time to try to make this decision, because it is going to cost money. Like they have to figure out, like a lot of these youth practice fields or football fields like Libel in Regina, like if they're going to be changing their field dimensions, and I think Libel has stitched on turf, they would have to figure that out. They would have to make that investment to unstitch those lines and restitch those lines, and there was a comment in here about needing new turf, and Mosaic is definitely up for new turf because the turf has about a 10-year lifespan. It's been 8 years, I believe. In Iceville, they had Iceville where there was a skating rink on the field for a couple seasons in the winter, and it apparently it did a lot of damage. So next year was initially going to be the new turf. The Riders CFO actually told me that on a stadium tour last year, but now I assume they're going to wait till 2027. And Craig Dickinson said in his thing that, previously they have stitched right now, but going forward, I don't think they're going to be doing stitching because there could be a lot of different multi-use things happening in that stadium, and they don't know if amateur is going to go fully to that field dimension. So I do think that's the reason why they got this out. I don't think there's any. It's not just to create drama in that sense.
Austin enjoying a grapefruit for a sour day. Dr. Orchard or D Orchard, I just call you the doc. Old Dutch spicy salt and vinegar Ridgies for me. Salty snack for a salty day. I love the snack talk. Toast with cheese whiz here. I don't know if there is a joke there for Corey, but the live chat.
It's just disgusting.
You hate cheese whiz?
Okay, it's weird. I don't like I can't just put cheese whiz on a toast or something, but and I know it's the exact same freaking thing. You give me those little cheese and crackers with the little red spreader thingy, and I will enjoy the hell out of that. But I know that
I would
that's
say
cheese whiz. It's
cheese
just not
whiz
labeled as it.
completely changes when you melt it, though. Like on broccoli, look, anything that gets me to eat broccoli is
I I'm a Velveeta guy
magical.
if I'm doing broccoli. I'm not a cheese whiz guy, so that's a Shane McMahon maybe.
Although,
But cheese whiz is actually super expensive.
oh, it
Shane,
is, man.
like it is.
I don't buy it
So
anymore. It gets lava hot when you warm it up, though, man.
yeah. I'd
I,
rather if I'm putting if I'm gonna warm up some cheese sauce, I'd rather get one of those queso tostitos. Put that on some broccoli, that'd be good.
Ryan, the field size changes have a very positive possibility. The changes to the dimensions allow for expansion into any soccer stadium without any size changes being made to the playing surface. Leanne says, I'm still on the 55-yard line on how I feel about the changes, except separating the benches. That's a no-brainer. The rest feels kind of yucky, especially when we're building momentum, restoring Canadian spirit. Terry says, I'm still new to watching football. Hopefully the game will still feel the same. I got a text here from... Are you laughing at the chat or at me? Like, am
Yeah,
I
I'm
an
laughing
idiot?
at
Okay.
Josh.
Okay.
I'm back and cooled down. Okay, welcome
Oh,
back, Josh.
oh, he's good?
He's-
I thought he was going to remain hating us. I'm glad.
I still think y'all are traitors, though. Well,
Oh,
maybe
okay.
we can get on that show and make some money.
Ian says they might as well have changed it to 4 downs while they were at it. I definitely won't be surprised if UFL joins on board now. Many are going to be missing the 55-yard line. Austin, my end zone seat is about to be behind the field seat, which does suck.
I I feel for those people. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people who are affected. Matty D in here, he's one of those people. Janice, a good friend, she's one of those people. So like I do think that, those are that is definitely something that I can really understand people being upset about.
Yeah, Nash is another one. Same deal there. Corey says whenever Chris Streveler throws 4 passes in a row, Rouge. Um, some talking about the baseball rule changes. Were
The pitch
people
count or the pitch
that
clock.
opposed to the pitch count? Because maybe I'm remembering it differently. I remember
I think
baseball
they were.
people being opposed to changing the playoffs, which remains stupid. You play 162 games and you can be out in one? Like that's wild to me.
Can
Um,
if we're talking about baseball, can I make a very controversial take that people probably won't like, but I can't stand? The Blue Jays clinched the playoffs, and
oh, and they have a party for
they have
everything they do?
they have a champagne shower for just clinching the playoffs.
Well, then
Give
if
me
they
a
get
break.
the division, they'll have another champagne shower. And
Yeah,
then, yeah.
yeah, like
I
give me a
get it.
break.
I
That's
get it.
ridiculous.
I totally understand where you're talking here. Sir Hugo saying, I want to believe that the powers that be are doing what they believe are in the best interests of the CFL. I just can't give them my 100% support on this. Wayne, I agree with most of the changes, but as long as the 3 downs, the 65-yard wide field, and 12 players on the field, that clock I'm not so sure about. It's going to take some getting used to. But I do think it's maybe, like we talked about, not as drastic as maybe it seems on the surface.
I think that one, like, I just and part of it is the benches, but there's a lot of times when you see like officials waiting for players to come on to blow the whistle in, and you see offenses getting upset because maybe they're trying to run tempo or something like that. So I think that's one that, again, as long as they can find a way to keep the last 3 minutes of the game as special as it is right now, that's kind of the big thing.
Leanne saying, as an Elks fan, I wish they would have changed the walk-off field goal rule. Yeah, no doubt. There's minimum 5 in the past 2 seasons, maybe more. That's just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Poor Elks fans. Tyler, hey, saying, hell yeah, I was hoping for this. So he's saying the Rouge rule still needs work. But the changes are mostly good. I just feel like it's robbing the reason why I fell in love with the CFL.
Fair.
Yeah. Man, this is definitely the most engaged, I think. And we're midnight Eastern. Is anybody in the Eastern time zone still with us here tonight?
Corey for sure.
Is he still?
I think so.
We're kind of winding down on the broadcast here. Do you think there's anything we've missed or glossed over? I think we've been pretty reasonable. Us, our sellouts, Stewart Johnston paid shills. I'm still waiting for that paycheck. Where's my NDA? Well,
here's one thing. Here's one thing that you were talking about earlier, like early in the day with me about, Dines Pentecostal Online Church says no gizmo or any other great historic returns, dozens of records done. So you said that to me earlier today, that you were kind of frustrated about that, and I did see a thing. I don't know the exact numbers here because I just saw it off Twitter before, but it was like they added up all the missed or the field goals and then however many field goal returns there were, and it was like 1 point some percent of field goals actually get returned for touchdowns. So again, I was one of those people.
Such a silly thing, like, because 0.008% of run plays get fumble returns for a touchdown.
I hear you.
I'm sorry. Even the ones that don't go for touchdowns. I saw Javon Leake take one 86 yards back a few weeks ago, set up the Elks for a touchdown. Sorry for just slamming your point on the head with a sledgehammer, but
no, that's fine. That's thankfully we're different people. Remember,
I did not mean. Okay, we have talked.
That was hilarious.
We have talked about my Twitter use lately.
We have,
and I have been very short with people, and today I was short with you. But it's the no punctuation that I think looks very mean on Twitter, and I used it to my advantage there. But I am glad that we are independent people and we have independent thoughts. I am thankful for that. I guess I should have said that.
Thankfully, you don't live in this brain. You're welcome.
You wouldn't want what's in here in there, and probably vice versa.
Yeah.
We're not fighting, or are we?
No, I don't think so. I won the Rouge fight, so I'm happy as heck.
Wow.
I won. 1-0.
Just another thing I love that's gone.
I hear you.
No more Blockbuster Video, No more WWE Network. This Netflix stuff sucks. What else is gone? My
Here's the thing
blood
about
pressure is
that.
not the best, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You have a heck of a beard, though.
I do. And I will accept that compliment. And I actually do think I look pretty nice in my. I promised my wife I wouldn't make this joke, but it's Fat Bear Week, and I feel like I could be a contender on the bracket if I just use the hashtag.
But what type of fat bear?
If a bear's hungry, he'll eat.
Yep. Yep.
Brad saying it would have been nice if the league consulted or did a poll with the fans and their players before ramming all these unnecessary changes through. Naylor addressed that today, saying if they did this poll among fans or coaches or whatever, that things would have stayed the same. What's your take on that?
I agree. So, like, I think when it comes to everything, and maybe this is one of the things that it is just apparent in all things, is social media is a vocal minority of people. And it's not necessarily reflective of how, like, if there's 28,000 or there was 33,400 people at Mosaic Stadium for Labor Day. We had the Bombers helped out a little bit there. There's not 34,000 people tweeting on Twitter about that game and everything they like about it and everything that they don't like about it. You have hardcore people and you like it's just like everything. I don't want to go politics here, but you have extremists on all sides. You have people who hate the CFL because it's not the NFL. You have people who love the CFL because it's not the NFL. And the majority of people are somewhere in the middle, I think. What? Wow.
I'll be honest, I'm blown away. Flesh wound 42. The $55 super. I almost want to shed a tear.
Wow. Thank you.
Thanks for carrying the CFL flag. Stay positive. Man, that's deeply appreciated. Thank you.
Yes.
And the $55, 55 yard
55.
line. There we go.
I love that. I love that. But what I was saying is, so, there's the majority of people who aren't on social media and maybe do feel that way, and they wouldn't if you polled fans, if you polled coaches, if you like. Also, you couldn't let more coaches and players know because then it would just get leaked, and then it would just make it even worse because then there would be no official announcement for months, and there'd just be all these rumors spreading. So I understand why they had to keep it a tight knit group. Maybe I would have liked there to be like, let's say you pick like, let's say the PA, like at least if they would have had the members of all the PA, like the player members in this committee, and if they would have had all the coaches, I think that would have been good. But at the end of the day, those guys are the employees. They're not. They want to make money by getting paid to work there, but they're not the ones who are benefiting necessarily from everything. Right now, the players get basically money from the TV deal. That's kind of where the salary cap comes into effect. And I was talking to this about earlier, like for these things to happen and to make change and to make everything like to make more money for the league, they have to spend money to do that. So if they get a new TV deal that has increased money, instead of all that going to the salary cap, they need to take some of that money and use it to market these players. They need to do all that. And then one other thing that I wanted to just say before I forget, in the Stewart Johnston interview on Three Down Nation, he made it inexplicably clear that this has nothing to do with the MLSE and Bills deal, and he said that they've been working on this far longer than they even heard about that deal, and he wasn't even at that deal. So that's one thing that I wanted to just kind of again mention because it separates it from the whole NFL taking over NFL partnership.
Thanks, 8-Bit Paul, for the $2 super chat as well. Like, man, I
We don't
never.
expect that, guys. Thank you so
No, I
much.
never once expected this, but this, I think a great idea is that my next CFL jersey might say 55 at yard line on it.
Yeah.
I think that would look pretty darn cool on a jersey. Or would you put something else in the name bar? I'm not sure. Yard line
55
sounds.
forever, maybe
Yeah,
55 forever.
maybe that's good. Rocky saying the CFL is no longer the CFL. It's heartbreaking. And, since joining, I've been on Twitter for, I don't know, probably 15 years now, more, maybe something like that. And the main reason I got on there was to talk CFL back in the day. And there were a lot of people that do not have their name known or their face known. But I guess it's almost like online gaming where you meet these people and you talk to them and you feel like maybe it's just like being at the bar and you see that guy over there all the time. You nod to him, you exchange pleasantries, and you feel like you know them. I think Jacques Cartier is one of those people for me. I'd love to sit down and I don't know, share a coffee or a whiskey or whatever. And he says, as a former fake commissioner, he says he's deeply troubled by the changes and what is to come by 2027. I don't know what the league will be, but it's no longer Canadian football. And I do think that's a very common sentiment among fans right now.
I do as well. I see it and I hear it and I recognize that, you know, maybe things in the past or things in other forms could contribute to somebody thinking that way. But again, like you said, as long as there's three downs, as long as there's 12 people, as long as there's a 65-yard field, wide field, and as long as there's no fair catch, kind of those, I think those are my four. Those that's Canadian. It's still Canadian football. However, nothing's off the table, I guess, and we just have to see how it goes. And it's just no one's a bigger fan just because they stay. No one, my buddy Matt, not Matt Damon, but my other buddy Matt said his father's really hurt by this, and he feels abandoned by the team, and he's a rider season ticket holder for a really long time, and he's questioning whether he's gonna renew. So I feel for those fans because I don't want to see those fans go. Um, I hope that some of those fans do give it a chance and just to see what could possibly happen and see if there is positiveness here.
It's been an emotional season because a lot of those longtime fans have been told to their face, get out of the way to make room for other people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people feel like that has happened today,
Yep.
I think Sea Lightning asking where we're from. I think he's talking about us. Sheldon Jones lives in Regina. I live in just north of Red Deer, Alberta. Tammy Campbell Jones with the $2 thanks, the super chat. Thank you. That's so nice. We'll get to some of the replies because we had we're closing in on 100 replies on X. Dean saying he had expectations of doom, so he's actually doing okay. I think that's kind of how we both felt. He says the 100-yard field is contentious, but when field goals will already be 15 yards longer, I can wrap my brain around it. I wonder how many more punt rouges we'll see now. Moving the benches, long overdue. Yeah, it felt like that was a bit of a recent trend, no? Or is this... It doesn't feel like a conversation that's been going on forever, but some Ticats fans, for example, have their tickets behind the Ticats bench. If they move to the middle of the field, they will no longer be where they want to be. So there is going to be a lot of changes. So I do see people saying, don't yell at your ticket rep. Don't yell at the admins on social media, because they're definitely had no NDAs to sign. Brandon saying so far he's liked the changes, evolve or go extinct. Chris saying he feels like the opposite of his team winning the Grey Cup. Hopefully not as bad as the 2009 Grey Cup. But I understand the feeling.
Yeah, I haven't cried yet today about that. So
Yeah, yeah.
there's that. I just want so Matt Damon, he has a question for everyone, but especially us. Before today, what would you say made our favorite league Canadian? You go. I'll let you take that one.
So for me, I really did like the fact that it gave Canadians to continue to play football after school and an opportunity to play pro football and remained entrenched in the communities, and being role models for their communities and just being able to cheer for your city. People, they always berate Rider fans for wearing Rider jerseys around the globe. And I wish more CFL fans would do that for their respective team. If you're in Calgary and you're on the Great Wall of China, wear that Calgary Stampeders hat. Or if you're from Edmonton and you're at the Sydney Opera House in Australia, wear that Elks sweater. I love how it just shows where you're from. This is the old school Canadian in me, but and maybe we'll end the show here. I just loved the Grey Cup being at the end of November. Nobody wants to really be outside, but we are for the Grey Cup, and then that is lost. I love the big mittens, the big winter coats, staying warm to watch football with a whiskey flask in each boot just to stay warm. I love that our trophy is so accessible. I've seen it outside like 3 different stadiums this season alone. And there's no worry that it's going to get stolen. Our players are I'm so damn proud still of this league. And now that I've just said that, none of that's changed today. And I'm happy about that.
Yeah. And I'll just answer the question with it's very similar to yours. It's the accessibility of the players. For a long time, as a kid, I always felt like living in or growing up in Saskatchewan where there's nothing to do in Regina. I was jealous of people who lived in bigger cities and had more things to do, got more concerts, especially, etc. But I was basically told that I was a Rider fan because my mom took me to every game when I was a kid, and I was lucky enough to grow up 2 blocks away from Taylor Field, and I was lucky enough that in my elementary school, my music teacher, Mrs. Little, was friends with Don Narcisse, and Don Narcisse would come to our school multiple times a year and play football with us and sign autographs, and he'd bring other players too, and that got away from us in Saskatchewan even like not too long ago, but it's coming back. They're building the community back, and so that's what I love the most, just the accessibility. And yes, the 3 downs, the 12 players, like those are very important things, but like you said, none of that changed today, and I'm hoping to God that none of that changes in the future.
Wow. This was I think a therapeutic discussion. Even if we're still mad, we talked about it. Go on and write me up for 125. Post my face wanted dead or alive. Take my license, all that drive. I can't drive 55. The Red Rocker had to get that comment in there. Thanks for joining this live stream. How do you feel, man?
I feel okay. I feel like this is a long day, and I feel that, I just love to be with, I don't know how many people are in here, or were
about
in here.
55.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's poetic. I just love that, there's 50, well, at least 54 who didn't think I was a sellout, hopefully. And I just this is therapeutic, like you said, and we still have a third of the season left this season where everything's still the same, and hopefully great end to the season, and I'm just hoping that next year when these changes start to roll into effect that it's not the end of the world, and we still have a game that we love and we can still cheer it on.
Rate, review, subscribe to your favorite podcatcher to Two and Out. And if you're joined us on YouTube, thanks so much for being there today. The CFL will live forever, 55-yard line or not. For Sheldon Jones, I'm Travis Currah. Thanks so much for joining us late on this Monday night. Take care of yourself.
The Two and Out CFL podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Travis Currah and co-hosted by Sheldon Jones. Subscribe to Two and Out on all major podcast platforms and YouTube to keep up to date with future shows.